It doesn't matter if I'm hitting up an antique shop, an estate sale, a thrift store. One of my favorite things to upcycle are rusty, crusty pieces. And people, I'm not picky. I like them pewter, I like them metal, I like them tin, I like it all. And it's really easy around the holiday seasons to switch out your decor and keep these super simple just by adding some florals or greenery or mix and match. Completely up to you. You don't need a lot in these little pieces to make them really add a little something to your space. Also, I feel like size doesn't really matter in this case. It could be a large piece like this and you could just add a couple little berries and it has its own feel going on with it. Or grab some little rusty pieces like this, adding a greenery sprig to it, and then tuck it in with a couple other little seasonal pieces to just add a little accent of something. I will say one of my favorite and one of the easiest ways, in my opinion, to add a little something to the larger pieces is to just trim up some pine branch pieces and just shove them on in there. They even accent well with little vintage cookie cutter pieces, and you can add a hint of color in there by just grabbing some yarn. Or get rid of the greenery altogether and just grab some berry bits. They look amazing in this little vintage tin scoop, and they would probably look really well if you had those old vintage hand garden tools as well. But seriously, whether you're adding berries, whether you're adding the pine pieces, they just go with pretty much any rusty, crusty piece. You can always add some transfers to these to spruce them up if you like. And people, don't be afraid to pile all your rusty crusties together with different florals and different greenery for your seasonal decor and create a nice cohesive collection. People, if you come across these beautiful metal towel pieces that hang on your wall, do not skip out on them. Pick them up. I'm about to share with you how you can take these and transform them for your seasonal decor as much as you would like just by adding some paint. All I'm doing is taking a little bit of this Waverly red chalk paint and applying a coat all over the piece. Once it's completely dry, I'm taking some of my Dixie Belle silver gilding wax. Now, if you don't have this, you could use metallic paint, or you could use some rub and buff. Don't feel like because you don't have what I have that you can't do this. I'm always trying to give y'all options. And now you can use your finger like I am and go over all the sections, and you can be as detailed as you would like, but I wanted this to be extremely enhanced all over the place, so I rubbed it everywhere. And then I grabbed some beautiful Christmas greenery and a little ornament that I had in my stash from Walmart, who knows how long ago. I picked that joint up with some twine and wrapped it all around our metal towel piece here, metal wall towel piece here. And look how beautiful this transformed this upcycle. Sometimes it really just takes a coat of paint. Transform these spindle pieces into a matching ornament set. And to get started, we're going to need to bring on in the drill and pop a hole in these so we can put hangers on them. And you can do this several different ways, but I highly recommend making sure the battery's charged. Of course the battery's dead. Why wouldn't it be dead? At some point in my life, I had more than just one of these batteries anyhow. Once it was charged, I then laid these on their side and used a larger 2x4 because experience has had me drill holes in the bottom of the table. And this will prevent that. Now, if you want to drill a hole in the top and then put a hook in there, you go right ahead. I didn't have any hooks, and I wanted to share with you guys the easy peasy way of getting around that if you don't have hooks at home either. You just lay them on their side, drill a hole straight on through that joint, and then we're going to pop some twine in there later. But first up, we're going to start by putting a nice layer of white paint on both of these. Use whatever paint you would like, and I do recommend cleaning off your pieces prior to painting. I know you didn't see me do that. I did that off camera, just trying to save your viewing time. Always thinking about you watching over there. But yes, clean them off, make sure they're dry, and then pop your paints. If you don't want to use the multi-surface, a nice chalk paint would work as well. Make sure they're completely dry or pop a layer of sealer on them before you bust out your transfers. I'm going to be taking some of my TDS creative transfers and sprinkling them along both of these ornaments. It's really important to make sure your paint is dry whenever you go to put on transfer, and that is any type of transfer, because if the paint is slightly wet or you didn't seal over it, it is a real good chance that that transfer is not going to adhere properly, and it's going to pull back up and pull some of your paint up. So this is something that will require patience and a little bit of dry time. When I went to put the twine in, I noticed that it was not going in the holes. So to make that work out a little bit better, I took some painter's tape and just smooshed it around the very edge as thin as I can and into a real nice point so it would easily go through the hole, and then I could tie it in a loop, making our little hook for our ornament pieces. You can go about creating your hook however you'd like. I wanted to keep these fairly rustic, and also took some of that twine and a little bit of glue and added a nice amount right to the center of each of these ornaments. I still felt like they needed a little something, so I grabbed some of my Dixie Belle's gold gilding wax. And if you don't have any of this gilding wax at home, you could use other alternatives like metallic paints. They do have like gold and rose and silver paints, especially in the folk art brand. I can usually pick them up from Hobby Lobby or Walmart, and also Rub and Buff. And instead of popping these on a tree, I decided to add a little bit of messy moss inside of one of Dollar Tree's wire baskets and create a beautiful little vignette style piece. I thought I found me a crown at Goodwill, people. I was about to get this and put this on my head. It was super pretty. And then I realized, nope, it's a candle holder and it's only $2.99. So I was like, I have a ton of these Dollar Tree pillar candles that will look perfect in here, and it's gorgeous all on its own. However, we can't just leave it like that. And that candle holder is absolutely too phenomenal to do anything with. So we're going to need to grab us a napkin so we can decoupage this joint onto the candle and give it a little upcycling love. Well, it's a Dollar Tree candle. We're not really upcycling that, but the candle will add the upcycle to the upcycle and give a little oomph, if that makes any sense. You guys, you're following me, right? Anyhow, to decoupage a candle, you're just going to need to trim out whatever sections you would like of the napkin to put onto the candle. I'm using a little bit of water on the edge of a paintbrush and just getting those detailed sections. If you're looking for something specific, it helps to wrap the napkin around the candle, and it takes time and patience. I know it can be a little rough, but I promise it's worth it. I just wanted one real pretty design on here, so I took my time making sure that the design didn't overlap on the napkin. And then I removed all those extra sneaky layers because we're only going to use the top decorative layer, and grabbed me a piece of parchment paper. I'm using a heat gun for this. This is the technique I like to use. You can use iron if you would like. This is just what works best for me and what I prefer. There is no right or wrong way. You do this how you would like, and keep in mind it gets hot, okay? So watch your fingers. But what you're looking for here is that napkin turns translucent. If you still have that white color of the napkin, it hasn't melted into that candle just yet, so you'll want to put the parchment paper back over, continue to heat up that napkin, heat up that wax, and allow everything to melt together. When you're happy with that, you just put it right on back into your little candle holder and display. This beautiful piece at Goodwill had to come home with me. For only $2.99, I knew we could reuse this as much as we would like, making what I like to call little scenes. Now, recently in some stores, I've seen little scenes in teacups, and I thought this would be a great way to do that, but on a larger scale. So I grabbed some cotton swabs for our snow, and I cut down a piece of cardboard and trimmed it to size to fit right inside of this piece. Now I want to keep this, so I want to be able to reuse it and create a new scene. You may see me do this again with this exact piece for a different season. So I'm just going to take some floral foam and set that piece of cardboard on there nice and snug. I'm not going to glue anything down. If I cut this just perfect, like I did, it will fit in here nice and tight. For the main scene for my piece, I'm going to be using this little sleigh I had in my stash. And I wanted to add a little something onto it. So I grabbed some of my TDS dry rub on transfers and just cut a couple sections out to put on the little sleigh, keeping everything pretty rustic and pretty simple. So just wanted to add a little something onto this part. Did not have any little boxes or little gifts, shocker, right, in my stash. So I had to create my own little gifts. And I did that by just taking some Dollar Tree square beads, gluing them all together. Then I painted them and wrapped them with twine and added a little bow onto the top. If you had some thin ribbon, that would look really nice as well. Again, I was going for rustic, so the twine worked out just perfectly. And I knew that the little bows I was going to put in the top had some color onto them. I glued some burlap down on the inside of the sleigh. This way it helped kind of create a little bit of a disconnect between the two boxes and just fill it up, make it look a little nice. And then I glued in our little presents. When I was all done with that, it was time to construct our scenery piece. I started off by just shredding some of that cotton, just pulling as much apart as I could so it didn't look like a bunch of little balls. Now you could absolutely leave them like that if you want it, but I did not want to. And I'm just using some hot glue and I'm making sure not to get any on our piece so I can just remove this and then replace it with whatever I would like at a different time, or just put florals in it in general. That would look really pretty as well. I used some greenery and I took some floral foam to add a little bit of height in the background here and to keep the greenery all in place. And then I added some fairy lights and love how this turned out. What do you guys think? I found this large wall decor piece at Goodwill for $2.99. Now I don't want you to get too set on the fact that it's a wall decor piece because we're going to use it for something entirely different, and you're going to save money with this idea. So first, we're going to turn it over on its back, and we're going to remove those hangers because we're not going to be putting this back on the wall. And pay no attention to the fact that those stickers say $7.99. I see that $2.99 sticker. I paid $2.99 for, in case you think I'm bluffing you. Like, Brandy, it said $7.99. No, that wasn't the Goodwill sticker. So check this out. You know how a lot of times people like to create the tabletop decor pieces where you can put the floral pieces in using a Dollar Tree crates, or they use the pallets. And even with the pallets, like, you even need more. You'll need like 5 pallets, plus you'll need the wood sides and the top and the bottom. And with these, you would still need 5 of these. And any way you're cutting it, you're spending over $5 or $6, which is still pretty budget friendly for the idea in general. But I got this wall decor piece for $2.99, and we're just going to clean this sucker off. Now, it wasn't really dirty. You'll be able to see here there was minimal dirt on this. You can feel free to scrub it down as much as you would need to. I am going to just add some candlesticks in here and then put some moss and some greenery in this piece, and you will not know that it was a wall decor. You could reuse it at some point for wall decor if you would like. You could switch this out as many times as you would like and put it in different sections. It is such a budget-friendly way to get this stunning look on your table without having to buy all those Dollar Tree bits. At first, when I seen this little sled at Goodwill, I wasn't really sure what it was, and then I flipped it over and I'm like, oh, it is a photo frame. And it was $3.99. I definitely paid more for it than I would have liked to, but it's not often you see a little sled piece like this, and it's so rustic and I love it, so I had to get it. Plus, I had a really cool idea of how to keep this intact just like it is and add a couple little accents on here just to toss into your decor. I did not clean this piece off. I left it just as rusty and crusty as it was. I absolutely loved everything about the piece except for the glass. That had to go. It was too messed up. We weren't using any of that. Now for our centerpiece, I wanted to just create us an ornament type of ensemble that went in here. So I grabbed some greenery, a little star ornament, and a decoupaged ornament that I made a couple weeks back. With a piece of twine, I put them all together and then hung them right in the center of this sleigh. Now you can absolutely put this wherever you would like in your home. You find a piece like this in Goodwill. I decided to pop it onto a light switch, and I thought it was a perfect little accent to the room. For this upcycle, I wasn't really sure what it was. Maybe an old banister piece? I don't know, people. What do you think it is? Well, I knew what I wanted it to be, which was a base for my pine cone Christmas tree. Look how big this pine cone is. Huge, right? Anyhow, we had some holes we needed to plug up, and I'm just going to take some of this DAP spackling that I keep in my stash. I picked this stuff up from Walmart. Use the Dollar Tree stuff if that's what you want. I get asked that, like, doesn't matter. Completely preference, people. This is just what I use. Do you, okay? Do you. I'm a little bit bougier with my spackling, okay? I smushed that in the holes. I let that dry, and then I want it to frost floff. Let me go Google this. Flock. We're flocking. I've been doing, how many years I've been doing this, people, and I cannot remember that term still. Anyhow, the best way, in my opinion, to do this that I usually share, even though I can't remember the word, is with a sponge. Okay, you just tappity tap 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 some of that paint on the sponge, and then tappity tap 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 that paint all over your pine cone. If you want to use whatever, you go right ahead. I happen to like the paint instead of like salt or you know, baking powder, whatever. This is my method. Next, I'm busting out some of my TDS Creative Decoupage tissue paper so we could just decoupage the top little area on our thingy, because I still don't know what we're upcycling. It is my base. Okay, it's my base for my pine cone. We need it to look decorative, and I'm just trimming out the decoupage tissue paper and cutting it down to size. Once I was all done with that, I decided to pop a layer of crackle on here. There are multiple different ways you can get a crackle effect. This is my favorite, and I'm just putting a light coat all over the outside, not on the top of our piece. I felt like the wood popping through with that crackle would match really well with the decoupage tissue paper. Allow that to dry completely and then go over your piece with whatever paint color you would like. Now, I did the top pretty solid and I didn't have any of that crackle on the top anyhow. That was just so our decoupage tissue paper pops. And then I did ginger swipes over top of the areas that I applied that crackle medium. This stuff is absolutely temperamental, so you want to just have as much of that paint on your brush as you can and then go swipe across. I do like to take a heat gun to this. It helps to make those crackle effects a little bit more dominant, and I just really love how this turned out to add those pops of brown to match into the decoupage tissue paper. Once this was completely dry, I grabbed some medium and then applied our decoupage tissue paper right on the top. Feel free to use whatever medium you would like. This isn't just a one medium works. You use whatever works best for you. Right before I go to apply the decoupage tissue paper, I do like to take my little water bottle and give the back of the paper a little spritz. This just helps to make the paper a little bit more manipulable. You don't have to do this, okay? It is just something I like to do. You can absolutely lay the paper down without wetting the back of it at all. It will work just like a gem every time. And I'm usually able to just use my finger, lay it down, and it's completely fine. Once your piece is completely dry, it's time to bring on in the finger sander or whatever sander. You don't have to use this. I got mine off Temu. I get often asked where I get these from or where I got mine from. You can find them at Walmart and you can Amazon the joints. They are fairly easy to find and really inexpensive to have. I went in a downward motion, getting the excess off of our decoupage tissue paper all around the edges, and then used some wood glue and hot glue. Wood glue is important when you're attaching a pine cone to something, and placed it right on the top of our base. If you're looking for more Christmas inspiration, check out this video right here. And as always, people, thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. Until next time.